While the Walking Dead franchise has had its fair share of strong and underwhelming titles, fans who want to explore a new dimension of the hit series have a ton of games to try out, each with their own pluses and minuses. And today on Game Rant, we'll be going over every Walking Dead game from worst to best. And first, on the bottom of the list is Survival Instinct. The game focuses on siblings Daryl and Merle Dixon as a prequel to their stories in the Walking Dead TV show. Aside from being a typical FPS, the game offers a survival component, where Daryl has to take note of how much fuel, ammo, and food he has at any given time. Unfortunately, the intriguing plot and somewhat unique ideas isn't enough to save it from the abysmal FPS gameplay. In 2018, Overkill tried adapting the franchise into the popular genre of co-op survival among the ranks of Left 4 Dead and Resident Evil. It's not a bad idea in theory, and the game is a must-try for its lore and interesting fighting mechanics, but unfortunately, the game received poor reception due to its glitches, low graphics, poor matchmaking, and odd difficulty spikes. The Walking Dead Onslaught is a VR title where players get to see the world of The Walking Dead through the eyes of several characters from the mainline series. On its own, Onslaught is a must-play for the performances of the cast, but its story and approach aren't that far from typical fan fiction. And compared to Saints and Sinners, the franchise's other VR game, it just doesn't hold up. The original Escapists is a strategic take on the prison escape formula, with a retro art style and open sandbox. And in a similar vein, The Escapists' The Walking Dead sees players instead take on the role of survivors as they navigate level after level, escaping hordes of zombies on their way. One of the more ordinary games in the franchise, The Walking Dead Road to Survival, is a 2D tactics game, more akin to the lines of Marvel Avengers Alliance, where players take the role of various characters in side-scrolling tactical fights against enemies. However, what makes Road to Survival stand out compared to other games is how it allows players to acquire and create teams from characters who are from the novels, comics, and even the Telltale series. While Bridge Constructor needs players to aid vehicles traversing a ravine through constructed bridges that follow physics, The Walking Dead's iteration needs players to not just aid survivors crossing those ravines, but also make sure that walkers aren't there to follow them. And as such, this Bridge Constructor installment allows players to use baits, explosives, and other objects to ensure that walkers are permanently dead on their tracks. Players who love augmented reality experiences like Pokemon Go will appreciate being transported into the world of The Walking Dead from the perspective of their mobile phones. In The Walking Dead Our World, players take on the role of survivors as they fight walkers and survive the series' harsh post-apocalyptic landscape by exploring their surroundings and leaving their marks for players to find. Fans who love walking around will have a lot to do in Our World, but there's not too much else to please those who love a more casual sitting down experience. Next is No Man's Land. In this base management game, players have to collect resources and fortify their base against zombies, all while rescuing survivors, doing quests, and upgrading their arsenal. Fans who want to get immersed in the world of The Walking Dead without being railroaded into being involved with Rick and the show's survivors will love No Man's Land. In Saints and Sinners, players spin up their VR devices to jump into New Orleans during the onset of the outbreak. This VR game is probably the most immersive Walking Dead experience to date. Aside from being able to fight zombies, you can also scale buildings to attack from a distance and even craft weapons and improve existing ones that you have been using. This easily sets the bar not just for a Walking Dead game, but also for VR in general. And lastly is Telltale's The Walking Dead, a series of episodic adventures following various characters, both original and some of the most beloved from the comics. While this sub-series has had a lot of ups and downs, every entry has been rated favorably on Metacritic, with the lowest rated being Michonne, followed by New Frontier, Season 2, Season 1, and finally the final season, coming in at the highest rating Walking Dead game of all time. And that's it for our list. Thank you so much for watching, and go to GameRant.com for more like this.